بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Today inshallah we're going to look at some of the questions about the subject of the angels in Islam. Some people would ask, was Iblis a jinn or was he an angel? In Surah Al-Kahf, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us about His order to the angels to prostrate to Adam alayhi salam. Then He makes one exception. He except for Iblis, for he was from the jinn. And so he went out of the order of Allah Azza wa Jalla, His Lord. This description, the fact that he was from the jinn, is a definitive difference between him and angels. Of course, most of the ulama say that he was an angel. This is the Jumhur who say this. Ibn Abbas, Ibn Mas'ud, Abdul Malik ibn Jurayj, Ibn Musayyib, Qatada, Imam Tabari. They chose this opinion because Allah Azza wa Jal in another place in the Quran mentions the angels and His order to the angels, and then He says, except, they all prostrated except Iblis. And this would presuppose his angelic nature, because if he was not an angel he would not be asked to prostrate, since the order came to the angels and not to the angels and the jinn. However, many ulama, especially Al-Hasan al-Basri, thought that he was not an angel for many reasons. One of them is because we said the angels are infallible. Allah Azza wa Jalla said in Surah Al-Tahrim, لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم. They disobey not Allah in whatever He asks them. ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. And they do all that is asked of them. Allah Azza wa Jalla said about them as well, وهم بأمره يعملون. And they execute His order. The other thing is that Allah Azza wa Jalla clearly mentions that he was from the jinn. And the jinn are not the angels. The jinn were created from fire and the angels were created from light. And this was also the opinion of Zamakhshari, the famous Mu'tazila Mufassir. Of course, there are some riwayat that Ibn Abbas is supposed to have said. They are not authentic. They mentioned that he was the Tawus of the Malaika, the peacock of the Malaika, that he was one of the Seraphim, of the generals of the angels, that he was one of the guardians of paradise, that he was in control of the worldly heaven, that his name was Azazel. And all of these are Israeliyat, things that we should not take seriously in our deen. The most powerful argument in this mas'ala is the argument of those who said that he was not an angel, because Allah Azza wa clearly said, كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. He was from the jinn and he went out of the order of his Lord. Then is the other matter, how can Allah Azza wa Jal expect him to prostrate since the order came to the Malaika? We say that an ally living with a tribe for a long time was considered by the Arabs to be one of them. And so if they had a peace treaty with this particular tribe, he would be included in it. Iblis, as many ulama narrated, was elevated to the ranks of the angels to worship with them because of his nature back then. Iblis was not always Lucifer. A long time ago, he was a very good worshipper of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So much so that Allah Azza wa Jalla allowed him entrance into the realm of the angels to worship with them. SubhanAllah, this tells us a lot about the way people follow others, human beings like them, without question, under the pretext that this is a very good shaykh, that his deen is good, that his ibadah is good, that his beard is long, whatever. We say that since human beings are fallible, the difference between us and the muqallida, the difference between us and those who follow blindly, those who will not be excused on the Day of Judgment, because Allah Azza wa Jalla said, أن تقولوا يوم القيامة إنا كنا عن هذا غافلين. Lest you come on the day of judgment and say, we did not know about this, about Tawheed. أو تقولوا إنما أشرك آباؤنا. Or maybe you will say that our fathers made this mistake, and we were but descendants who followed their steps. Allah Azza wa Jalla rejects the idea of taqleed in the Quran, that one cannot give control over his deen to anyone except Allah and His Messenger, or those who give him proofs from Allah and His Messenger. So as long as the proof is there, the authentic proof is there, one can follow not the person, but the daleel he brings. Because if Iblis, who saw the mysteries of Allah Azza wa Jalla, who saw the angels, who saw the other realm, fell, then no one has any immunity against temptation and corruption. And this is the danger of following a man in everything he says, because we know that a man is, if you follow a man 100%, you will fall into his mistakes. Or if you follow the daleel and you make a mistake, at least it is your own mistake in understanding the daleel, and sooner or later Allah Azza wa Jalla will show you the way. But if you give control over your life and your deen to a man, then you will be making his mistakes. And so we say that when Allah Azza wa Jalla asked the angels, the ulama said this is istisna munqati. It means that the order was to the angels, and the order also attained Iblis, who was with the angels but not one of them. But because he was one of them in terms of worship, because he lived with them, then the order came to him as well. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Bismillah. Can angels be seen by human beings? That depends. If you mean that the human beings would see angels in their real form, then the answer would most likely be no. The Prophet ﷺ, who was the strongest man who ever lived, mentally and physically, when he saw Jibreel alayhi salam for the first time, that caused him to shake because of the way Jibreel is. And so to say that so-and-so has seen the angels is a very dangerous claim. In fact, it may lead, this is one step that may lead to, oh, the angels told me to do this and this and that, and told me to convey a message, and then we'd be in very big trouble. And the kuffar, we know that the kuffar suggested that the messenger would be an angel. The Prophet Allah Azza wa Jalla said in Surah Al-An'am, وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ مَلَكًا, even if we made him an angel, لَجَعَلْنَاهُ رَجُلًا, then we would have made him into a man. وَلَلَبَسْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ مَا يَلْبِسُونَ. And so even if an angel would be sent to the earth, he would take human form. He would not be sent in his real form. And so these people say, oh, we saw the Prophet ﷺ with our own eyes, he came to us, and we saw the angels, and we saw this. I consider this to be just signs of an inflated ego. And they use it to validate their, what they are upon, basically. However, some of the human beings we see around us may not be what they seem. I do believe that many devils take the human form. We do have adilla from this, from Quran and from Sunnah, that the devil can take human form, that angels can take human form. And so the question would be, how would you recognize them? How would you differentiate between the two as well? Allahu ta'ala a'lam.